I'm on a quest to find the purest source of magnesium. I think I just found it. Pure magnesium. Oh, hold on. Hey Danny, are you seriously digging for pure magnesium? Good luck trying to ingest that. You're never going to absorb it. Haven't you seen all those TV commercials? The best form of magnesium is obviously magnesium glycinate. This is the best form because... Hold on. Time out. You're both right on track, but it's easy to see why you're both confused. Unfortunately, the forms of magnesium that provide the largest amount of pure magnesium are the hardest for your body to absorb, while at the same time, the forms that are the easiest to absorb provide the smallest amount of pure magnesium. It's a frustrating and confusing trade-off, but don't click away just yet, because today, I'm going to show you how this problem has finally been solved. And by the end of this video, you're going to become a magnesium expert. Hi, I'm Danny Curtin. Thank you for joining me today. Now, it is true that some forms of magnesium can be thought of as better or the best compared to others. But today, I'm going to show you why there are only two things that really matter. What's the payload? How much actual magnesium are you trying to deliver? And of that amount, what's the bioavailability percentage? Basically, how much can you absorb and use? These two factors determine how much magnesium mineral makes it into your blood and tissues. That's what drives the real intrinsic benefits of magnesium, like relaxation, reducing muscle cramps, and helping your body properly utilize vitamin D and calcium. On the other hand, when less magnesium is absorbed, it tends to show up more through its extrinsic benefits, like loosening the bowels or working as an antacid. But before we get into the details that will help you decide, I've got to clear up the biggest source of confusion when it comes to magnesium supplementation, which lies directly in the question: what type of magnesium is best? The question isn't exactly accurate, because technically there's only one type of magnesium, pure elemental magnesium, that your cells need. The problem is, pure elemental magnesium can't be directly ingested, absorbed, and utilized since it's a highly reactive pure element. But nature has solved this problem for us. The magnesium that we consume is never found on its own. It's always bound to another molecule called a carrier molecule. For instance, in spinach, magnesium is bound inside the chlorophyll molecule, the very structure that makes the spinach green. Now with supplements, we do a pretty good job of mimicking this same idea. For example, elemental magnesium is paired with citric acid to form magnesium citrate, or the amino acid taurine to form magnesium taurate. These carriers make it possible for the body to absorb and utilize the magnesium, but this doesn't make a new type of magnesium. The magnesium element is still the same. It does, however, make a different form of magnesium. The point is, when you look at a magnesium supplement, they all deliver the same type of magnesium, elemental magnesium bound to a different carrier molecule. I made this magnesium comparison chart so you can see how this works. The first thing you'll notice is that the chart compares 100 milligrams of some of the most common forms of magnesium. But don't get confused. The 100 milligrams is the total compound weight, the weight of the elemental magnesium plus the carrier molecule and anything else that makes up the specific form, like water. First on the list, magnesium oxide. It's one of the most widely used forms because it's got the highest payload of pure magnesium, about 60%. That means from 100 milligrams of compound magnesium oxide. Now again, we're talking about the entire weight of the magnesium oxide compound. You get around 60 milligrams of elemental magnesium. But the problem with magnesium oxide is that it's got the least bioavailability. Only about 4% can be absorbed. So when it's all said and done, you only get about 3 milligrams of usable magnesium. That means the unabsorbed magnesium lingers in the gut, pulls in water, and acts more like a laxative than a true supplement. So let's see how a few of the other more common forms stack up. I'm not going to review every single one on this chart, but keep this on hand for reference. There's also a download link in the description below. The next most common form is magnesium citrate, which supplies roughly 11% elemental magnesium. much lower than the 60% of magnesium oxide, which means from 100 milligrams of total weight, you'll have 11 milligrams of elemental magnesium and about 89 milligrams of citric acid and water. But here's where you can see the trade-off. Although magnesium citrate has a much smaller magnesium payload, it has a moderate absorption rate, about 30%. So in the end, the amount of magnesium you absorb is just about the same as magnesium oxide, 3 milligrams. But this form is going to be tolerated much better since you started with far less elemental magnesium, meaning there's going to be a lot less waste. However, I don't want you to think magnesium citrate doesn't come with some extrinsic laxative side effects, because it definitely does. They're just not as extreme as with magnesium oxide. And citrate has some intrinsic benefit as well. In fact, many people take this form before bed since it will have mild calming effects, but it will also help loosen their bowels when they wake up in the morning. Next, let's jump to one of the hottest forms right now, magnesium glycinate. It's very popular in television commercials, it works well, and it is very gentle. You can see on the chart that this form supplies about 14% elemental magnesium, but its bioavailability is extremely high, about 70%, maybe even more. So even though the amount of elemental magnesium is similar to magnesium citrate, when it's all said and done, you're absorbing a big portion of the 14 milligram payload. With the same weight and comparison of the previous forms, magnesium glycinate supplies roughly 10 milligrams of usable magnesium. Highly absorbable, calming, and great for stress and sleep without the bowel-stimulating effects. But I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that all magnesium glycinate products are technically magnesium bisglycinate, one magnesium ion bound to 2 glycine molecules. Now, I'm not going to get into the chemistry weeds, but simply said, a formula with only one magnesium and one glycine doesn't actually work in nature. So whenever you see magnesium glycinate, it's really magnesium bisglycinate. However, companies have decided that magnesium glycinate is easier to say and probably remember, but it's not accurate and it's kind of sloppy. So if you see a product with magnesium bisglycinate on the label, you should take note. That company obviously knows what they're doing. Okay, we're done with the chart, but remember, there's a download link in the description below. I need to make another very important point about the unique benefit that comes from certain forms of magnesium, like magnesium L-threonate for brain health or magnesium malate for pain relief. What you need to know is that those benefits are real, but they don't actually come from the magnesium itself. This is critical information. No matter which form of magnesium you take, once it's broken apart and absorbed, all that's left are magnesium ions. Those ions move into your bloodstream and then into your cells. And guess what? Your cells don't know or care where they came from. Whether it's magnesium oxide, citrate, bisglycinate, or anything else, magnesium always powers enzymes to make energy, regulates nerve and muscle function, supports insulin sensitivity, helps maintain blood pressure, and the list goes on and on. Magnesium always performs the same core jobs once it's absorbed. The unique benefits that seem to come from different forms actually come from the carrier molecule the magnesium is attached to. Take taurine, for example. It supports heart health by regulating blood pressure and rhythm. But magnesium taurate doesn't send magnesium straight to the heart. The magnesium still works the same way as always, while the taurine adds its own heart-supporting effects. What really matters is how well the carrier helps the magnesium get absorbed. Everything else is an added bonus. Okay, moving on to a magnesium supplement label. I've got a bottle of magnesium glycinate made by Thorne. It says right here on the supplement facts panel, magnesium as magnesium glycinate, 120 milligrams. Now this is where it gets confusing. Most people would look at this bottle and if asked how much magnesium glycinate was in this product, they would probably say 120 milligrams, but that would be wrong. In the US, dietary supplements have to label the amount of elemental magnesium in the product. So even though this looks like 120 milligrams of total weight, it's actually only showing the amount of elemental magnesium in the product. So if we go back and reference the chart I made for you, we can see that magnesium glycinate supplies 14% elemental magnesium. We do a little simple math and we can figure out that the 120 milligrams that's on the label is 14% of a total 860 milligrams. So don't get me wrong, this current label isn't necessarily inaccurate, it's just not as good as it should be. If Thorne were being 100% transparent, the supplement facts panel would look a little something like this. It would show the magnesium, but then it would show that it comes from 860 milligrams of magnesium glycinate. That's the total compound weight that's in each capsule. And with that, what if you could take the magnesium with the highest elemental density, magnesium oxide, and make it just as bioavailable as some of the most absorbable? Well, I'm happy to inform you that technology has already taken form, and it's called Sucrosomial magnesium. This technology wraps magnesium oxide in a specialized protective coating that allows it to be easily carried across the intestinal wall and into the blood, with much more efficiency than any other form of magnesium. This allows you to get the extremely high elemental magnesium payload of magnesium oxide, but with the high absorption of the most premium forms. That's why sucrosomial magnesium is such a breakthrough. It transforms the purest, densest form of magnesium into one of the most usable ways to raise your intracellular magnesium levels. In a recent clinical trial, people who took the same elemental dose of sucrosomial magnesium had much higher blood levels of magnesium compared to when they took the same elemental amount of magnesium citrate, magnesium oxide, or magnesium bisglycinate. And that's what really matters: how much you're able to absorb. Sucrosomial magnesium now leads the pack with the best absorption rate, giving you the best chance to benefit from magnesium while having the fewest digestive issues, meaning you can take it any time of day. So when you're shopping for the next magnesium supplement, my advice is to look for products that specifically use this patented technology. You'll often see it listed on the ingredients panel as sucrosomial magnesium or sucrosomial magnesium oxide. But don't let the magnesium oxide name fool you. If it's sucrosomial magnesium, it turns the highest elemental density magnesium oxide into the most bioavailable form. It's the future of magnesium supplementation, and it finally solves the trade-off between potency and absorption. I added a few products to the description below. I hope this episode made you feel like the magnesium expert I promised you'd become. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe to the channel, and I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Which form of magnesium are you currently taking? If you have questions, I try to answer as many as I can, but subscriber questions are always answered first. Again, I'm Danny Curtin. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.